Sapiens presents. Although we have the option of becoming the person we want to be, there is no doubt that our childhood has shaped us to some extent, how we react to different situations and how we express ourselves, meaning from our immediate environment. Behavioral patterns formed from an early age, Dr. Marriage and family counselor, when he began to learn how to understand. Milan and K. Yankovic have learned that everyone has a particular style of love for their upbringing. The style of love consists of our tendency and the tendency of how to deal with our romantic partners. But if you understand how we love you, you can learn how our beloved style affects our relationships. Here are Dr. Milan and K. Yankovic's 5 love styles. 1. The pleaser. The pleaser often grows up in a home with an overly protective or angry and critical parent. As children, pleasers do everything they can to be good and be on their best behavior so as to not provoke a negative response from their parent. Please. Our children are not comforted. Instead, they spend their time and energy comforting their reacting parents. Pleasers are uncomfortable with conflicts, deal with disagreements, and often give up or make amends quickly. They usually have a hard time saying no. They may not be true because they want to minimize conflicts and may lie to avoid difficult conflicts as our children grow up to be adults. They read the moods of those around them and learn to be able to make everyone happy. But when a happy person feels stressed or constantly disappointed, he or she can break the relationship and escape. When it's not realistic, the happy person often pays attention to everyone and tries to do everything. And instead of forming healthy boundaries for yourself, focus on the needs and desires of others. In order for a happy person to maintain a stable relationship, he or she must be honest with his or her feelings rather than trying to do what is expected. Victims often grow up in chaotic homes. Victims learn to be obedient to survive by paying less attention to themselves so that they can stay under the radar to deal with their angry, abusive parents. Increase. The victims learn to hide and be quiet from an early age, as it is painful to be fully present. Victims' children often build an imaginary world in their minds to deal with the daily dangers of suffering from anxiety and depression. They may marry a controller that reflects the same behavior as their parents. Victims learn to cope by being adaptable and going with the flow. They are so used to chaos and stressful situations that when they do experience calmness, it actually makes them feel uneasy because they anticipate the next blow-up. In order for victims to cultivate healthy, stable relationships, they have to learn self-love and stand up for themselves when a situation calls for it instead of letting their partner walk all over them. 3. The controller. The controller usually grows up in a home where there wasn't a lot of protection, so they learn to toughen up and take care of themselves. They need to feel that they are always in control to prevent the vulnerabilities they experienced in childhood from becoming apparent in adulthood. People with this loving style believe they are in control if they can avoid experiencing the negative emotions of fear, humiliation, and helplessness. However, the controller does not associate anger with vulnerability, so it uses anger as a weapon to maintain power. Controllers tend to be strict, but they can also be sporadic and unpredictable. They don't like getting out of their comfort zone because they feel weak and vulnerable. You prefer to solve problems yourself and get things done in a particular way. Otherwise, they get angry and the controller can build a stable long-term relationship. They need to learn how to let go, trust others, and control their anger. After, the big ones often grow up with unpredictable parents. As a child, presenters learned that without a consistent parental affection for them, their needs were not a parent's top priority. The presenter had a deep fear of being abandoned, but when her parents eventually wanted to turn their time and attention to them, the oscillator was usually too angry and tired to receive it. As the presenter enters adulthood, she seeks to find lasting love denied as a child. Vaccine people tend to idealize new relationships, but when they are abandoned or disappointed, they become depressed and suspicious. They are often misunderstood and experience many internal conflicts and emotional stresses in their relationships. They can be very sensitive and empathetic, can detect even the slightest changes in others, keep no one apart, and later many have a healthy and stable relationship. I can do it. They need to learn to keep up with themselves and get to know someone before they commit too early and get hurt by their own expectations. 5. Evader. Avoidant personality often grows up in a low-loving home that values independence and independence. As a child, avoiders learn to take care of themselves from an early age and set their feelings and needs aside to deal with the fear of receiving little or no comfort from their parents. Avoiders like their space and tend to rely more on logic and separation than on emotions. When people around them are experiencing intense mood swings, they become uncomfortable and allow avoiders to have a healthy and long-term relationship. They need to learn to open and express their feelings honestly. What lifestyle do you equate with? Share your thoughts with us below.